Hey guys, welcome to this edition of The Game Changer. I am indeed Nate the effing great. I'm being joined here by my lovely co-host VicTori Belle. And reason why I'm going this fast is because the fact was we just lost about 30 minutes of video footage. Get it out of your systems. That was my fault. I decided to just look and see. Basically, we were talking about some of the best movies from this year, and when I was looking online, because we were talking about Avengers movies, see what were ones that were like high grossed movies. The recording just absolutely stopped, and I lost the footage. So now, now basically we have to do a recap of the movies that we were talking about. I believe that for your movies, you had already Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Griswold. I had Venom, and then we moved on to Black Panther. Basically, to sum it up, how I would sum up Black Panther is the fact that it's basically Marvel taking The Lion King and making it action-packed. I think that's my best way of describing it.
That is definitely a good explanation, is the Lion King superhero form. But yeah, like I was saying, you have to have Black Panther on your top list, I feel. Given out of all the Marvel movies this year, Avengers probably topped it just a bit because you got everybody, and Black Panther was in there, so he gives a little, bump to them as well. But like I was saying, is the Black Panther standalone intro, pilot, whatever you want to call it, superhero movie is probably the strongest pilot superhero movie in the Marvel universe, and you gotta give it, tip the hat. Black Panther did it. Good connecting the villain, good connecting history, good connecting just everybody. It was very diverse. It was awesome, and it was interesting to kind of see, a little bit more of the superhero realm in a city that is basically the best city in the world that we just never seen. So it's a great story hidden in the Congo jungle.
I think it's one of those movies that I look at it and I think to myself that this was one of those things where they're just like, hey, just remember where this area is because it's going to come into play majorly come Infinity War. And it did. It wasn't one of those things where they kind of just brushed it off. They were just like, no, there's a reason why we're focusing so heavily on this in this movie. Because Black Panther, if you remember, was one of those movies where it just did not even incorporate Infinity War like at all, except for like the final reveal of Bucky at the very end. Other than that, there was really nothing that was like touch base on, okay, this is happening during this time and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, it's just, they're doing their own thing, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. I loved it. So I'm glad we were able to talk about it. The little time that we got to talk about it. We did it. Yay!
Yeah. Oh, boy. I'm going to be kicking myself in the butt for this for a while. But
don't worry. It's totally fine.
So I guess I'm up to bat, and I've already mentioned it, you guys, that in the description I will have my link to the top 10 movies that I had for this year. I might mention one of them that is on my list a little bit later, but I just want to kind of touch base on movies that I've really not given too much recognition for that I thoroughly enjoyed. One that really stood out to me as far as comedy-wise, as far as like hitting everything very well, was the movie Blockers. And the reason why is because of the fact that, well, a few reasons why, but one being the trio of Ike Barinholtz, Leslie Hamm, John Cena are just absolutely incredible. Just three parents that are basically finding out that their kids are having this sex pact and they're trying to basically stop it. Just seeing the wild and crazy antics that they're doing. Like John Cena, he's playing this role of just an overly protective dad, but also kind of like very skittish, very nervous. One of his scenes where he basically talks about they're doing like all those like text message deals, and they're trying to figure out what does this mean, and there's the one where there's the OK sign, the finger pointing at it. I think there's a lot of people that can understand what that means. But basically, Cena just makes it out just like, it's like, maybe they're just saying, like, you're okay with me. It's like, really, dude? just really? You're that out of touch with, like, the text-savvy deal of this entire movie?
Oh,
but
no.
it's just so absolutely funny. And again, not exactly high on John Cena as an action star, but him as a comedy star, just absolutely intense and absolutely great to see. I know that he's also involved in the new Transformers movie, Bumblebee, where, again, he's got...
I was going to ask you about that because you were talking about John Cena.
Well, he, again, is probably going to have one of the best lines of that entire movie, and it's basically revealed in the trailer, where he basically just says, like, it's even in their names, Decepticons. Does that not spark a red flag? I was like, okay, so he's going to be like the logical one in this movie, and I'm okay with this. I'm actually okay with this. But yeah, like I said, it's a really crazy and wild comedy movie where basically you have, again, these parents are going from like, I think, like schools to like a huge frat party, and then they end up finding their kids. John Cena's character learns to, let his daughter, just be able to live life. We get the reconnection of Ike Barinholtz's character and his daughter with that, and basically Leslie's characters and her daughter's character now finally basically being able to say, hey, we're basically going our separate ways, because they were like inseparable to start. But then, of course, prom night hits, and Leslie Hamm's character, she's just all like, oh, text me whenever you got a chance, and blah, 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 blah. Just being that overbearing mother that just really just does not want her baby just growing up so fast. But it's a really good movie. It really is. It's one of those movies where, especially it gets to like the very end, you really feel like they hit that touching moment just absolutely incredibly. Well, I'll spoil only this one because I don't want to spoil too much of it. The one that really stood out to me was the deal where Ike Barinholtz's character talks with his daughter, and he basically saying, I want to be more there for you. I don't want to be just this deadbeat dad that's just there for you every now and then. I want to be there for you all the time. And she really appreciates that so much that she reveals to him that she thinks that she's gay. And it's one of those things where he asks the question, he just says, does your mom know about this? She's like, no. And he just starts breaking down and crying. It's kind of one of the cheesiest things, but it's kind of also one of those things where it's like, that's actually kind of cool that she is giving her dad that chance to be a dad and revealing that huge thing to him. That's a lot. That's a lot to take in. But it's just an absolutely funny movie. End scene is just one of those scenes where it's just like, okay, we're seeing John Cena again at his funniest, but I think for a lot of ladies, now you get to also see John Cena's ass kind of up close and personal. I'm just going to say that much right now.
Well, I heard good things about Lockers. I haven't seen it myself, but I mean, if it's worth it, it's worth it. I didn't see very many comedies this year, so maybe I need to up the comedy game.
You definitely do need something to tickle your funny bone every now and then, and that was the one I think this far where it really got me like roaring with laughter, and I think that was like the only movie this year where I was in the theater all by myself. But then again, it was like in the middle of the day, so.
Oh, I'm like, oh, that's not good for the movie. But
no, there are a lot of people that enjoyed it, so.
Good. Awesome.
All right, so what do you got?
Yeah, 3 anime, and I'm gonna pull Incredibles 2 out of there.
Woo!
I think Incredibles 2 is a long time coming. It was a movie that we've all been waiting for what was it, like 12 years or something they made us wait?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was a long time. But it was basically just what we needed. It got a lot of cool, new, odd superheroes together that were just trying to fix the world and let superheroes be out in the open again. And it was a great way to do it. And, they kind of touched on a subject that Disney doesn't touch on much, like having the mom go do some stuff and having the dad be like the stay-at-home dad trying to work with the kids. It was hilarious. It was great. It was entertaining, fun, and it touched on little things that everybody kind of wants to see now and then. So I would have to say that Incredibles 2 was definitely one of the best movies in 2018, and one of those you can watch over and over again. And I have. I watched it, I think, like 3 times now, and it's still entertaining, funny. I do think that Jack versus the raccoon is a little obnoxious, but I'm not a child. And children really enjoyed it, I guess. But I was just like, okay, calm down. Like, a super-powered kid destroying a raccoon. But yeah, so Incredibles 2 would be one of those choices that really stood out for me.
Well, let me go change my diaper as well as get my binky, because I was one of those kids that enjoyed that scene with... Did I almost make you do a spit take?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But I was one of those people that enjoyed it. But no, you're right. Incredibles 2 was definitely a long wait for a lot of people that wanted the sequel to happen. And it was worth the wait. And I remember even like at the start of it that they had all the characters, all the people talking, basically saying, you know, hey, thank you so much for being patient, and you have to understand that, you know, we want everything to be perfect. That's why it took so long to do this. We want the animation to be good. We want the script to be right. We want the characters to be done well. It's one of those things where they show that, hey, we do care about your opinion. We want you to have these great, you know, movies. It just takes a lot of time to do that. So I give Pixar a lot of props for admitting that, and honestly, if it takes them a long time to get another sequel out for Incredibles, I'm okay with that. As long as it's not one of those things where it just gets rushed and they think, oh, it has to be out now. 5, 7. That's fine. Take all the time you need. As long as it's a really good story, characters are great, I'm okay with that. Even if we get like Jack versus Raccoon 2 in Incredibles 3, I'm okay with it.
Oh, jeez.
I'll literally be like watching that in the movie theater, and I'm just going to be texting you as soon as that happens, be like, or VicTori Belle, your favorite combatants are fighting again. It's like, thanks for giving me...
jeez.
Yeah, I will say that Incredibles 2 was definitely one of those movies that is one of the best animated movies, as well as family movies, of this year. A lot of people, Rotten Tomatoes is saying that that's going to be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but we'll see what happens. By the way, that also premieres tonight for those of you that are curious. So, not going to get a chance to see it tonight, but there will be other times for me to see it. I'm not too worried about it. Anyway, so, alright. I think that the ball's in my court to pick another movie from this year that was...
It is.
Oh, man. I'm trying to think of what another good movie what happened this year was. Let's see. Oh gosh, man, I think I gotta throw in Halloween in there. As far as I mentioned a lot last week that horror movies got hit really hard in that deal, in the sense that they had a lot of movies that were either complete crap, the storylines were bad, characters were just stupid. Halloween was one of those movies that it did not meet those quantities. It surpassed the expectations that a lot of us had, as well as really created a new chapter in the Halloween saga. Because basically, you guys have to remember that this was supposed to basically take place after the very first Halloween. Not the Rob Zombie Halloween, but the actual Halloween that was, I think, in like I want to say maybe like 74 or something like that. But, yeah, it really surpassed what I was expecting. I mean, there's not too many moments where I was like, jumping out, screaming or stuff like that, and there weren't that many people that were doing that, but the story itself was just really good. Just talking about how Michael, escapes his, confines. He's able to find Jamie Lee Curtis's character, and I literally remember texting Agent Cooper, Max, from the movie, and I said these words, and I quote, I said, Jamie Lee Curtis is a badass in this movie, and I absolutely love it. It's just it's just one of those situations where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to see this in Freaky Friday. No, sorry. She did a absolutely fantastic job. I loved her character. You understood where she was coming from. You understood her motivations. A lot of the kills in the movie, oh my gosh, they were actually very brutal, but also very well done. There's one scene in particular where a kid basically sees Michael Myers behind a tree, and he's basically stalking this kid through the you know those like motion sensor lights that they have in the backyard?
Yeah.
Literally, it's one of those things where like the lights go out, he disappears. Lights go out, he reappears. Lights go out, blank. Kind of one of those deals. And then it's one of those situations where it's like, oh, here he comes. Music hits perfectly. And it's like, oh, God, okay. Just, again, it's a great, fantastic movie. And guys, at the very end, for those of you that are kind of thinking like, oh, well, this is kind of the end of this series entirely. No, you have to wait until the very end, because I was thinking to myself, okay, well, there might be some kind of end credit scene or something like that. As soon as the movie comes to a close, all the end credit scenes are done. All you just hear is this raspy breathing, and it's like, oh, okay, we're getting more. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to be interested to see how Michael Myers survives this one. But yeah, I will say this. I know that we won't touch too much of it because I know how your feelings are about horror movies. But like I said,
we can talk about it.
What, did you see it?
No, I didn't.
Well, there we go.
I definitely didn't see it. But I don't care about talking about horror movies. Like, we can try to talk. I'll tell you my opinions. Like, I mean, he's a classic. Like, you gotta love that.
This is very true. Yeah, but I mean, so for somebody that didn't see it, have you heard good things about Halloween, or did you hear like moderate to like bad reviews about it, or what were your like general? What was kind of like the general emphasis that you got from it?
I got good reviews. I heard a lot of people enjoyed the new Halloween. And did they reboot it, or did they just did they try to reintroduce Jason, or?
No, they literally it was just like a direct sequel to like the very first one. That was literally what they were going off. But they were like fast forwarding it about, God, I want to say maybe like 10, 20 years. I want to say. It was just kind of one of those things where like the first one happened, and this is basically picking up after that one only about 10, 20 years later, which I was okay with.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I heard good things. So, I mean, I think it deserves to be on there, especially when we talked about last episode how bad a lot of the horror movies were. So I think it's really good that there was one winner on there.
Yes. All right. So you're up to bat. What else you got? 2018. Yeah.
So my number 2 pick is going to have to be Bohemian Rhapsody, Mr. Freddie Mercury himself.
This is not a surprise to me, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I sincerely enjoyed this movie, even though I've heard like it wasn't totally 100%. Like his life and everything, like they Hollywooded it up a little bit. I just think it was a great story to be told. I think he's one of those unsung heroes within the rock and roll, the whole rock and roll and entertainment music business, is how many different hits he had, how much he influenced a lot of the artists of today. I think you got to hear and see it in his songs and in his life and what he kind of brought awareness to. So I loved Bohemian Rhapsody. I loved the band Queen, and it's kind of cool that they're now like announcing to tour again and stuff with Adam something. He got famous from American Idol, but yes, I know. I don't remember his name, but I do, he was one of the first American Idol guys that, came out being like, yeah, I'm openly gay and stuff, and people were like, whoa, Clay Aiken did it too, but people were like, whoa, that's crazy, he did that on a show that people are voting for, and people are still voting for him. He was an incredible singer, he still is, and I think he's taken on, the vocals of Freddie Mercury, but it's really cool. I think it's a good documentary entertainment combo in Bohemian Rhapsody that people will learn from, and people will discover new things and then be like, dang, all I want to do is listen to Queen again. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, definitely go take a listen to the Bohemian Rhapsody review episode that we did, because it definitely hit a lot of really good notes on here. And still...
notes.
Man. I wish I saw what I did there. But so I've heard nothing but positive things, and even still talking to people, random people that don't really even know. They just telling me, man, it was really good to see that. And it's almost like every single one of these people were like, cloned, because everybody looked exactly like their counterparts in the, in the time era. It was just really well done how well they created these characters and how well they, recreated them. It's just a very fantastic movie. I know that when I first started off, it was like, well, there's still something, I don't know what it was, but I feel like there was something there that was missing. But now I'm at the point where it's like, you know what? I was maybe too, I thought that maybe there was something missing, but now I look back and I think to myself, no, there's nothing missing. Maybe it was just something didn't connect with me until I finally got a chance to actually see it and think, okay, now I understand that part. Now I get it. So, but again, it was one of those movies that I think is going to have a major presence when it comes to the Academy Awards this upcoming year. So, definitely see that. Oh man, that's going to be very interesting. It's definitely going to be very interesting to see what they do for that. Gosh, if Bohemian Rhapsody takes a sweep of the entire Academy Awards, I will not be surprised, because it was very damn good. And there's a bunch of other ones that we could definitely hit on that we think could be really good Academy Award movies. But we'll definitely talk about that in a future episode.
Yeah.
So you heard it here first. All right, so I guess again I am up to bat. So how the hell do I even top Bohemian Rhapsody? It's almost near to impossible to really do that. So I'm going to at least try. So when I was doing a lot of the stuff for the Game Changer, when I was doing a lot of visiting in Chicago, I remember there were a couple days where I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to go see a movie. There's a theater that's nearby. I can just, go see like movies back to back to back. And there were a few movies that I did in fact do that. One of them was for Hereditary. One was for Annihilation. Another one was for Red Sparrow. But one movie that I didn't know what to really expect from, that I literally walked in like, well, this looks like a kind of generic comedy. Let's just see what happens. I left it. I'm like, oh wow, that was a lot better than I thought it was. And that was the movie Game Night. So basically, you have a couple. They're basically hanging out with their friends, and they're basically going through what seems like is a reenactment of somebody taking somebody hostage, and they're basically trying to figure out who is the person behind it and getting their friend back. And it actually turns into a real-life situation. And who was this young couple played by? Why, none other than Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams. One of the most bizarre combinations I thought that I would ever see. And did they work? Oh, God, yes. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. I literally was like, wow, this is featuring Rachel McAdams. Okay, I've never seen her in a comedy deal. Jason Bateman, okay, well, he's pretty funny with some of his stuff. As soon as I left that movie, I was like, wow, these two just worked off of each other like crazy. Holy cow. I was not expecting them to do as well as they did. And again, Rachel McAdams, I need her more in comedy movies now, because she plays that kind of funny, hysterical wife that I think a lot of people knew. I think a lot of people just remember her for either for Mean Girls or for Notebook. I guarantee it. Although some people might also throw in, oh gosh, what was that other movie? Whatever. But this was one of those movies where it's just like, okay, this is her basically hitting a different field. It works. It absolutely works. She did an absolutely fantastic job. A lot of the comedy that's involved. Jason Bateman, again, just playing that kind of stereotypical, but also, just kind of like the straight-faced guy who's just almost having like, funny circumstances happen around him. It works in this movie. It does a fantastic deal. So I loved it. It was one of those movies, again, where I had very little to no expectations for it, and then I left it, I was like, wow, that was better than I thought it was going to be. Would I expect there to be a sequel? I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks that it would be kind of like the same thing as Hellfest. It's one of those movies where it's really good as its own, but, maybe for the purpose of the sequel would be to just further something else or create something else, but then after that, it's like, it's overkill. Like, maybe a sequel could go, but I'm not, crossing my fingers saying that it's going to be one of those ones. So it's so basically game night is kind of like what they did with date night with, I think it was Steven Carell and Tina Fey. It's kind of like that. So
interesting. Okay. Yeah, another one that I haven't seen. Like I said, I admit this year I did not go to very many comedies. I think comedies have to work harder to get people to come to the theater for them, just because they're not necessarily known as like epic movies. Like usually they're very beloved once they're out of the theater. Like, oh, everybody has, you know, a DVD of this in their house. Like, oh, of course, yeah, it's worth watching. But like going to the theater for it, I think is a lot harder than like a giant action movie. You're like, oh, I want to see that on the big screen. Where comedies, it's like, I mean, if I go to the theater and see it huge, like, is it that big of a deal? I don't know. But it's good to hear that game night was another winner that maybe I need to put on my list to watch. I mean, I love all the actors in it, and I would just love to see them all perform together. I think that sounds really fun. So maybe I'll have to do it.
Maybe. But, all right. I think that you're on your final one, if I'm not mistaken.
I am.
What you got?
So, yeah, the movie of the year for me being the one that I enjoyed the most. I still have the soundtrack on my Spotify playlist.
Everything is awesome.
One that kind of, what?
I just start playing this song from the Lego Movie. Everything is awesome.
It was the Lego Movie. How did you know? I boosted it. I said, screw it. I want to. It's 2018 too.
You know, it's weird. I think this is the first year that there hasn't been a Lego Movie, because we had Lego Movie and Lego Batman, but this year I don't think there was a Lego Movie. It's kind of it feels weird. And now we got another Lego Movie coming out next year. So.
Oh man, what are they doing to us? Yeah, my number one is A Star Is Born. I loved it. I thought it was an amazing movie that everybody really should go see and enjoy. I think I liked it. I think I put it above Bohemian Rhapsody in the sense that this sounds so cheesy because it is a redone movie, but like in the sense that I didn't know really what was going to happen. I didn't watch the first A Star Is Born, and I was just more like, okay, I heard this is a good movie, don't really know what it's about, know that Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper are going to be singing, so why not? Let's go see it. And while Bohemian Rhapsody, I was like, I know what this movie is about. And to be pleasantly surprised and like leave the theater being like wanting to talk about it more. I just love that. I love when you go to see a movie and then you instantly are like, who can I talk to this about? Like, I want to talk about this movie with people. Let's do this. Like, that's probably the number one movie of the year that made me want to do that is Avengers. But I didn't put that on my list because we already knew that's an amazing movie. So I wanted to hopefully put a list together that people could go see if they haven't. And definitely A Star Is Born is worth seeing. And yeah, it has great music, great story, and it'll make it, get in your feels, which is great.
Yeah, again, this is another one of those things that we definitely talked really heavily on. And even before it even came out, we were just like, this could actually be a really good movie and probably could be an early Oscar contender. And much to our credit, we were right. It was one of those movies that, I think you were definitely kind of behind, and I'm like, well, she's probably going to want to talk about it, so let's just take a look, see what happens. No, I did have a vested interest in it, because I kept looking at these trailers, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting, because now I have a different perspective on what, Lady Gaga could be. Because the only thing I knew beforehand was that, she was the woman that hatched out of an egg at a music theater award. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh boy, this will be interesting. But, just to see her go in to this movie and just absolutely knock it out of the park. Holy cow. I was very surprised at how well she was able to play kind of like the quiet, not so attention-seeking person to then evolving into somebody that she was beyond recognition. I definitely could see, you know, the transition from that. It was just one of those things where I'm like, wow, this is actually very interesting. It's kind of one of those things that makes you wonder that I think there's a part of me that wonders, like, is it possible that maybe she went through a transition like this? Maybe not like in her life 100%, but it's one of those things where maybe she felt nervous when she was younger, and then maybe she, you know, started getting that, you know, maybe it hit her on a different level. Who knows? Because she played that very well. Maybe she just, you know, knew how to act. Maybe I'm giving her full credit as an amazing actress. Maybe that's just all this is. But
could be.
But again, I was not disappointed after leaving. It was one of those movies where I was just like, wow, that was really good. And like you said, it gets you right in the feels, and that's what really good movies do.
Exactly. Agreed.
All right, so this is not necessarily my number one, but I will say that this is one of those movies that really is on my top 10 list. But if you want to find out where it hits it, then you'll have to definitely go check out the podcast that I did for that. The movie Ready Player One. Basically, how do I put this? Video games? Check. Achievements? Check. A lot of pop culture references? Check. Under that, Chucky. Yep. Let's see here. Iron Giant. Yeah. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What? We also have maybe the Halo guys. Say, huh? Maybe there's a scene from the movie. Oh gosh, now I'm trying to remember. The Shining. Huh? Just seeing all these things just collaborate and work very well, and it is kind of one of those things where they do everything that you would expect from a gaming perspective, where everybody, you know, really invests a lot in this game, and then there's also that realism that they hit directly in the movie where they say, you don't know if this person could be a woman. You don't know if this person could be hot. He could literally be just some 300-pound dude in the basement just trying to get you there, trying to get you in his pants. It's like, you know what? That is legitimately so true. And that's one of those things where it's like, I love this movie because it brings up that. It's so very well done. They even have a situation where the person who plays the friend, they basically reveal themselves and they recognize them through that quote. And it's like, okay, this just happened. Okay, oh my gosh. This is literally one of those things where it's like, don't always believe what you see on the internet because you'll be in for a big surprise. And my God, I can honestly say that there's a lot of times where I could say, yeah, that holds true. That holds very true. Some people that you talk to on the internet, maybe they're nice on the internet, but then when you meet them, they're just like complete assholes. Maybe there's people that you meet that seem like complete assholes, but they're really nice people. I mean, again, the movie Catfish is one of those TV series that really hit the nail on the head for that. So this is kind of one of those situations where they incorporate the catfish concept, but also really kind of make you enjoy the visual effects. It's another movie that was created by Steven Spielberg, who is one of the best, you know, producers, directors, you name it, he's done it. One of the best, you know, people in movies of all time, and he does a fantastic job creating this movie and just giving it such a new life. So many great references involved in this. Not to mention the fact the main character has a DeLorean. And I'm talking Back to the Future DeLorean. You can't top that shit. You really can't. I'm sorry, but oh my gosh, I loved that movie. Another movie that I would definitely highly recommend. Definitely within my top 10 list. It was one of those things where like easy, yep, this is going to be in my top 10. It's absolutely awesome.
It was definitely one of those, like, I enjoyed the fact that they had a lot of references and you could, like, go back and, like, be like, oh, yeah, I remember that, or, all right, I loved that, that was fun, that was cool. And it was definitely a movie that I didn't see before, like, you know, it's like, okay, so they're stuck in this world, and like their world sucks, so they all go to this, technology world, and it was really cool. I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, and seeing, Steven Spielberg get to bring some of his, amazing older films back to life in this was well worth watching.
I will say this, and one of also the funny things about this was the fact that they did incorporate a DC reference where one of the characters was just saying, oh, we need a disguise for you so that way you don't get recognized. Oh, hey, Clark Kent glasses. Literally, it's one of those things where they just put the glasses on, and it's like he's totally unrecognizable. Then he takes the glasses off.
Funny.
It was one of those things where it's like, wow, they literally just said, hey, DC, we know your secret. We know Clark Kent is Superman. Just, wow. I loved
that
it.
was great. It was funny, too.
I've seen that movie at least 2 or 3 times this year. But it's just an absolutely fantastic one. And I will definitely say this. I would have mentioned Avengers Infinity War, but the thing is, I probably talked to death about how awesome that movie is. I don't know what else I can really bring to the table. I've seen it 3 times. It hit me in the emotions every single time. Everybody's got their opinions about it, whether Thanos is a good guy or whether he's a bad guy. I still think he's a bit of a bad guy because he killed Gamora, but people are just saying, it was a justifiable homicide because the fact was... There's some people that are just going to say, it's justifiable. He didn't want to do it, but he did it just to help the universe and blah, blah. It's like, he still killed her. I don't care what anybody says. He killed Gamora, and she shared a nice moment with Chris Pratt. Come on, you're ripping me inside. Just,
Yeah. All in all, definitely Avengers are up there. It probably, to me, was number 1 in all the excitement. But yeah, we've talked it up. We talked about it so much that it's like I wanted to do a new list. But just in general, I did want to mention a few movies that I haven't seen that could have probably made this list.
Okay.
One of that is Green Book that's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the musician being protected by that kind of mobster New York guy, and it's a kind of a true story. They go through the South, and he's a black musician, who's very proper and pristine. And then there's the white, Italian mobster guy who's just, not pristine at all and kind of gross. So it's a buddy-buddy combo of how do they get along and how are they going through the South, and he's supposed to protect him because it's at a time when it's not great for a musician of color to have gone through that. And that's the terminologies they would use. And you're like, ooh, a little outdated, but that's kind of why it would be a fun movie to watch. Aquaman, I'm going to throw out there, maybe a good movie. Who knows? I would like to go see it. It's not out yet. It's coming out next Friday. But I definitely want to throw it out there that's coming out. And then I wanted to really see Mary, Queen of Scots. Which is right now out, but it's only out in LA and New York, so I haven't had a chance to kind of go see it. And to me, it just looks really cool. It has, I forget how to say her name, but it has the Mary, Queen of Scots girl, and then Margot Robbie as a really decrepit Queen Elizabeth, and it shows their relationship, and it is historically accurate. I'm almost 95% sure. About how those two kind of ruled at a time that was really rough for Scotland and England. So it looks really cool, and it looks like something that you learn a little bit, and you're also going to be really entertained with, learning more about a Queen Elizabeth that you didn't really know. So I think that looks like a movie that could be in the Oscars category. Same with Green Book and Aquaman. Probably not, but not Oscar worthy, but probably worthy to be one of the more enjoyable films of 2018. So those are 3 that I wanted to throw out there that I have not gotten a chance to see yet, but would love to try. Yeah,
definitely. And I'll just throw a couple other ones that I enjoyed throughout the year. Some people would not be really surprised to hear Deadpool 2. Not the Once Upon a Deadpool, but Deadpool 2 that came out earlier this year was another really good movie. Definitely one of the moments where we realized that this is probably the last time we're going to hear Ryan Reynolds talking about, every single foul language deal ever since he got bought out by Disney. But I think that they're going to do the best that they can for what they can with Once Upon a Deadpool. I remember the trailer basically saying, hey, the only F word that we're allowed to say is Fred Savage. And I'm just like, okay, he is trying his best to save this movie. I at least respect that. Another movie that I frankly really enjoyed that I didn't expect to really enjoy it was the movie Searching, which is basically one of those hidden camera deals, lost footage deals, where basically John Cho plays a father who's trying to find his daughter, and he's trying by every means necessary, and it's only through Skype and through video deals, through TV footage, stuff like that. It's a very well done movie. There was even a point where I actually almost started crying during the near end of the movie, where I was just like, "Oh God, no! This is not what I wanted it to end." But it does end on a positive note, which is always really good to know. But it does give people a lot of hope when it comes down to it. And the other one that I think I could probably throw in here and not have any regrets about would be The Meg, which is basically Jason Statham versus a huge shark. And to be honest, there's a major part of me that I looked at the first trailer and I'm just like, oh God, no! They're going to turn this into a full-blown comedy deal and it's going to be stupid. Then as soon as I left, I was like, okay, they definitely exceeded my expectations. This was a lot better than what I was expecting. Jason Statham's characters was funny. There are some other memorable characters that were involved. Dwight from The Office is involved in this movie, so that kind of gives you a little bit of a perspective that, hey, yeah, they got comedy, but he's not really a comic role. He's just kind of there as a bit of a jerk, but definitely one of those movies that I think was pretty awesome. Plus, how can I go wrong with choosing a movie that literally has a Finding Nemo reference involved in it, where Jason Statham, he's just swimming out to the shark, and he's just going, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? They put a Finding Nemo reference in a shark movie. I hate this movie and love this movie at the same time just for that moment.
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous, but hilarious at the same time. I do think it's worth mentioning, and I don't think I heard much about The Meg, but I mean, hey, if it's a good movie and it's kind of a comedy, action, thriller all balled into one, then it's worth mentioning.
Yep, this is very true. All right, guys, so we're going to wrap up this edition of The Game Changer. I know it seems a little bit early, but we spent about 30 more minutes beforehand talking about a lot of the other stuff, including the trailers for Godzilla, as well as Avengers Endgame, which, let me just put it to perspective, guys. We're excited to see both of those movies. But yeah, so we lost about 30 minutes worth of footage. I apologize for that. Next week it will not be the same story. But next week's episode is going to be very special because the fact that we're going to be we're actually talking about Christmas movies. And it's one of the first, and not unlike last year where we just picked like some of our favorites, we're actually going with a bit of a theme here. I'm trying to remember the studio that does it. Basically, the studio, I think, is it's either Rack and Base or Rock and Base. I can't remember exactly the studio was, but they're basically responsible for a lot of these stop motion Christmas specials that we remember growing up as kids. So what we're going to do is we're going to be taking a few of those movies, and we're basically going to be just reviewing them. I will tell you this right now: there have been a lot of these movies that I have watched already, and I watched them again, and some of them I was kind of just like, oh God, this is just sad. But then there's other movies where I'm watching it and I'm just like, oh wow, this actually is really good. And then there's one movie, which I will say this, has got me very nostalgic and got me right in the feels. I'm just going to say that right now without spoiling too much.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear which one.
You might be surprised which one it'll be. But yeah, that's going to be for next week's episode. So it's going to be a very interesting episode that we're going to be talking about. And we're also going to mention a couple other movies, one of which I didn't get a chance to see in full until last week. So I'll be doing a a bit of a review on Elf and my thoughts on it, and we'll see if my co-host wants to work with me or not. We'll see what happens. Also, guys, next week I will have my, I guess you can call it quote-unquote triple threat review on all 3 of the Grinches, and we'll even touch base about the Grinch next week as well. So, with that being said, gosh, we are just a few short weeks away from Christmas, you guys. It is going to be absolutely intense. The rest of this year, my God, I've already gotten so many plans, especially for the wrestling side of this. But definitely expect a major announcement to be made in regards to the Game Changer in the next couple of weeks, you guys. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but we will say that it is definitely something that we have been planning for a while, and it's finally happening. We're both kind of excited about this. That's all I can reveal about it, but just definitely tune in within the next 2 weeks to find out what that announcement is.
Oh man, this is worse than the cliffhanger of Avengers.
Well, at least with this one, nobody's dissolving. So.
Wait, no.
Oh crap! I was literally like, Tori, damn you, Thanos!
I was hard to keep quiet because I was laughing. My bad. We need to practice this more.
One of these days, we'll get everybody on the verge and just have this major cliffhanger. But anyway, you guys, you definitely know how to find us. Go check out VicTori Belle's Facebook fan page where she has a lot of her cosplays. It is absolutely wonderful what she does. And honestly, you guys, I think she needs a lot more likes on there. So keep giving her the likes, giving her some compliments. Definitely talk about every single thing that she does, whether it's some of her DC characters, whether it's from her anime. The list goes on and on. It's a lot of great stuff. So, you know how to find us on Facebook. You definitely know how to follow me on Twitter. You know that we are available on Spreaker.com as well as on YouTube and iHeartRadio. Again, next year, you guys, we're going to be on more platforms for you to listen to. So, listen in for that. And for that, for VicTori Belle, I've been Nate the Effing Great. 2018 was a better year for movies, and 2019 looks very promising, to say the least. Thank you, guys, and we will talk to you next week. Adios!